Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here, and welcome back to a new Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the top 5 battles that ZANE has participated in throughout Ninjago's history. Now, apologies for this video being so late with all of the new Season 14 leaks that came out. I found it hard to prioritize this video, but now I finally have a chance to do it, and let's go ahead and talk about it. For a few ground rules, though, before we get started, for one, this is all just my own opinion. Naturally, your opinion will probably disagree with mine. This list is my own listings for the top 5 ZANE battles, but of course after the video is done, I will leave it open to you guys to go ahead and comment down below your top 5 favorites. This is simply what this list is, my own top 5 favorite ZANE battles. Now for 2, what would I specify as a ZANE battle? Well, like the other videos that I've done on this subject for each of the ninja, I want to go ahead and separate the actual team battles from the individual battles. Of course, there are moments in team battles dedicated to the individual ninja, so I will count those, but for something, for example, like the final battle of Season 6, where all of the ninja were fighting against Nadakon, I'm not going to count that as a ZANE battle, for example, because that battle was not specific to ZANE. Naturally, these 5 battles are going to be specific to ZANE's character, and that's why they will be included on this list. Of course, your list will have different criteria, and naturally it will disagree with mine. Again, this is all just my own opinion, and it's my own list, so with all that being said, let's go ahead and not waste any more time and jump right into the number 5 spot. So for the number 5 spot on this video countdown, I decided to go ahead and put the battle in which ZANE faces off against the Treehorns, and this battle is actually where ZANE unlocks his true potential. This battle takes place immediately after ZANE recognizes his own self-identity. He realizes that he is a ninjroid, and with that newfound level of self-respect, he joins the other ninja out in the field fighting against the Treehorns and actually saves them from impending doom as he unlocks his true potential and faces off against the queen of the Treehorns, and he actually manages to freeze her. What I really enjoy about this battle is just how raw it is according to ZANE's individuality. For example, he spent the entire episode, I guess, fighting with himself, debating whether or not he actually is a real ninja or just a robot, whatever, and he actually goes ahead and realizes in this battle that he is as human as all of the other ninja, and with that newfound level of self-respect, he's able to unlock the next step in his elemental, I guess, heritage and unlock his true potential. This battle, to me, was one of the most important ones for ZANE throughout the original couple of seasons of Ninjago, just because, again, his self-identity was found here. He was comfortable with who he was finally and stopped debating with himself and instead turned that attention towards the actual enemy. I really like this battle for ZANE because it shows who he is and it shows what he's willing to do in order to save his friends. So that's why this battle gets the number 5 spot on this list. Next up in the number 4 spot, we have another battle from the exact same episode. This is ZANE versus the Guardian. Now, of course, after ZANE was following the Falcon and before he actually discovered that he was a robot, he discovered that the Falcon was a robot, which in turn caused him to be a little confused, but then the Guardian showed up and kind of limited his ability to go ahead and think critically for this situation. Instead, it was time for combat. Now, the Guardian itself was presumably built by Dr. Julian to defend the treehouse, which of course ZANE was born in, but ZANE of course didn't know this at the time and instead decided to take it on full force. Using his golden weapons as well as some really interesting strategies, he was able to go ahead and face off against the Guardian in a really exciting and entertaining battle. The Guardian itself was kind of defeated pretty easily and it didn't really pack that much of a punch, but the main source of entertainment here was just seeing ZANE's combat skills. Again, with the shurikens, he's able to do a whole lot, and with his snowmobile that comes from the shurikens, he's able to do even more. And this battle also showed ZANE's intelligence, as he was able to locate the Guardian's power source and take it out by destroying that with his shurikens. So naturally, this battle goes ahead and not only showcases ZANE's physical attributes and his physical strength, but also his mental strength as well. Naturally, this would in turn lead him to the treehouse where he would uncover his own, I guess, identity. But in terms of this battle here, he was able to express his own skills as a ninja, and that's something that I can always appreciate, and that's why it's in the number 4 spot on this countdown. Next up in the number 3 spot, we have ZANE versus Cryptor. This battle is not really something that I see a lot of people talk about, but in my opinion, it's one of the best battles in Rebooted. Rebooted was, of course, ZANE's own season, and as such, a lot of these battles will naturally come from Rebooted, but this is the first one that we're going to be talking about. ZANE versus Cryptor was pretty much fought in the finale of the ninja trying to disable the power power in Ninjago. Naturally, that would mean that all of the Ninjroids would go offline for the time being, and ZANE, of course, took on Cryptor head-on because Cryptor had possession of Pixel, ZANE's love interest. Naturally, that didn't really sit well with ZANE, and after fighting off a few Ninjroids before he finally got to Cryptor, the actual Ninjroid versus Ninjroid battle was able to take place. Cryptor's no pushover, though, and he definitely showed ZANE that he is a worthy adversary, as he was able to stop the Technoblade before it even had a chance to affect him, and naturally resorted ZANE to only using hand-to-hand combat, which is something that I can always appreciate. Again, even if it is robot-on-robot action, that just gives it more of an excuse to get really down and dirty and really violent, which is exactly what we were showcased in this fight scene. Cryptor used his abilities as an invisible Ninjroid to go ahead and taunt ZANE a lot in this battle, and it showcased Cryptor's personality as well, but it also showed how, I guess, desperate ZANE was to save Pixel, who of course was ZANE's main motivation to taking on Cryptor in the first place. ZANE cares a lot for Pixel, and this battle definitely showed that, while also showcasing some really impressive hand-to-hand combat for Ninjroids. But naturally, this battle was really great for ZANE's character, and it sort of caused a lot of the tension throughout the rest of the season. So in a way, this battle was really important to setting up the rest of Rebooted, even if it was a short season. But I really enjoyed this fight, and again, I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but in my opinion, this is one of the better fights that ZANE has participated in, and that's why it's in the number 3 spot on this list. The number 2 spot on this list might go ahead and be a little bit shocking to some, but I'm going to go ahead and put ZANE versus the Overlord as the number 2 entry. I struggled a lot deciding which one I wanted to put in the number 2 spot, this or the number 1 entry, but I eventually settled on this one, and I'll explain why later on. This battle for ZANE, though, is probably the most emotional moment for ZANE throughout the history of Ninjago, or at least one of them. ZANE finally takes on the Overlord in the finale of Rebooted. When all of the other ninja are kind of, I guess, out of commission, the Overlord goes ahead and taunts ZANE as ZANE tries his best to go ahead and defeat him. Naturally, ZANE needs to resist all 4 golden weapons, as they were all melted down to form the Overlord's battle armor, and just that alone is enough tension to go ahead and, I guess, drive a lot of us to worry for ZANE. This battle was really emotional, especially when ZANE got the upper hand on the Overlord, and he knew what was coming, and all the characters knew what was coming, and we knew what was coming. He actually had an emotional flashback sequence dedicating this time to, I guess, remembering all of the great ZANE moments throughout the first couple of seasons of Ninjago, and naturally with the over-depressing tune playing at the same time, it created a very emotional experience for pretty much everybody that witnessed this scene, and all those that cared about ZANE. This battle isn't really so much of a battle as it is an emotional send-off to ZANE's character, but I really did enjoy the fight. With ZANE and the Overlord, all he really needed to do was freeze him, but eventually the overloading power of the golden weapons would cause them both to explode. And we all know what happened to ZANE after that. We all know that he's okay, but during the battle we didn't know that, and for all we knew, ZANE was gone. But I feel like this was a really good send-off for ZANE nevertheless, and in my opinion it's one of the best battles that ZANE has participated in. I know a lot of you guys might be surprised that this didn't make the number 1 spot on this list, but that's just because there is another fight that I feel like is a lot better, and let's go ahead and talk about that right now. I imagine this might be a very controversial choice, but I decided to go ahead and put ZANE versus Mr. E as the number 1 fight that ZANE has participated in on my list. Now, naturally, a lot of you guys might be wondering what makes this fight so much better than the Overlord fight. Well, while the Overlord versus ZANE fight was actually really emotional, this battle was really, really raw. Like I mentioned earlier during the ZANE versus Cryptor segment, I really like Ninjroid versus Ninjroid battles because they have an excuse to go ahead and get really down and dirty and get really in there and actually create a fight that's really intense and really cool to watch. In my opinion, the ZANE versus Mr. E fight, nothing was really held back here. As they were both Ninjroids, they were able to tear each other apart and make each other suffer, and that, in my opinion, is a lot better than ZANE just blasting ice at the Overlord. While the Overlord versus ZANE fight might have been a lot more emotional, this battle was a lot more physical, and it actually was, dare I say, a battle. ZANE versus Mr. E was really intense, and the only reason why ZANE was taking on Mr. E head-on was because ZANE wanted so desperately to figure out who the Quiet One was, and he took on Mr. E to go ahead and try to get that information. I really enjoyed the amount of physical fighting in this battle as well. There is a brief instance where ZANE does use his ice powers, but for the most part, the ice is completely ineffective against Mr. E, allowing ZANE to go ahead and actually showcase his skills as a hand-to-hand fighter, which in my opinion isn't really something that we'd seen from a lot of these other fights. ZANE versus Mr. E was really intense and really dramatic, and the actual setting was really great as well. The them fighting on top of a mountaintop definitely added to the stress level in this fight too. And of course, we all know what was coming. ZANE got thrown over the edge by Mr. E and was pretty much put out of commission. He wasn't killed by Mr. E, but he was pretty badly damaged, so much so that Mr. E was able to plant something on ZANE that would soon come into effect later on in Season 8. But just overall, the amount of, I guess, pure rawness in this fight is something that I can appreciate. This battle is very memorable for me because it's one of the reasons why Sons of Garmadon is so great to me. The Sons of Garmadon season in general was very realistic in terms of its fight scenes, and naturally this fight scene kind of reflected that. Again, ZANE barely used his ice powers and instead focused his efforts on using his crossbow and his hand-to-hand combat, which again isn't really something that we can say for a lot of these other fights. And again, since they're both Ninjroids, they were able to go ahead and get a little bit more personal, and I just really love that a lot. In general, I know a lot of you guys might see this as a controversial choice, putting this above the ZANE versus Overlord fight, but it is my list, and this is what it is. I believe that this is the best fight that ZANE has ever partaken in Ninjago's history. So there you guys have it, my listings for the top 5 ZANE battles. Of course, now it's time to go ahead and turn it over to you guys to go ahead and rate your own battles down below. Let me know down below what your favorite ZANE battle is, and what do you think of my list, and let me know what you think of the video as well. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and check out the links down below in the description for my other forms of social media. As always, big shout out goes out to my Patreon supporters, including once again the marvelous Jan. Thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. My name is TannerFishies, and with that I bid you farewell.